Welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, your number one source for making money in the medical ancillary sector. Mike and Viv bring you the latest information from lab services, pharmacy, diagnostic testing, and so much more. The latest in ancillary services will be right around the corner. Welcoming the hosts of the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast, here's Mike and Viv.
Hello and welcome to the Medical Ancillary Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Berg, and joined by Viv Hudson, as always. Good morning, Viv. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Mike. And our special guest today, I guess, is you.
Yes, it is. None more
so,
special.
Mike, so we've got a bit of a different solution that we're going to talk about today. And this one is actually targeted toward the lab market. So labs looking to add an in-network solution to their existing lab. Is that right?
Yeah, it's probably, I consult with a lot of laboratories, Viv, and probably the number one request that I get from labs is they need in-network status. They cannot get in-network contracts. Those are difficult to get. And their doctors are complaining that their patients are being billed out of network. So that is the solution that we have been working on here for laboratories for, better part of a year. And we have a really good solution for them in place now, though.
So with this particular solution, I know from our experience, and we can just share this for our listeners, like the in-network market has not exactly been pain-free. So why is that, and what makes this solution different?
Well, yeah, I think that's the understatement of the year, Viv, that it's not been pain-free. It's been anything but pain-free. That is true. The issue that we've had in the past, or that the whole hospital billing market had, well, there's a myriad of reasons why that model has worked in a lot of cases, and a lot of it has to do with either laboratories that just don't have the proper infrastructure to keep up, and there's just customer service issues and things that slip through the cracks. There's been billing issues, but namely, it's been these small, rural, or regional hospitals that are getting involved in this, and they're overbilling. That's really the crux of the matter. And then they get audited by the big insurance companies, and then they lose their in-network status, and then all the reps get screwed because all the payments get frozen and nobody gets paid. And we've seen it happen time and time again.
Well, I'm actually surprised that you got through that whole little spiel there without using a four-letter word, because I'm sure there's been plenty of those shared in that particular space. So tell us a little bit about what we have now. So we're looking for labs that are doing over 5,000 tests a month. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the criteria. So this is the deal that we have set up for laboratories. Laboratories that are looking to get in-network on their tox, their blood, DNA, molecular testing. Really, it's a pretty robust testing menu that we can cover. So for these laboratories, what we can do is we can set them up as a reference lab to the master lab. So what that means is that they are going to be using their own requisition forms. It will have a hospital logo on their requisition forms. That's the only change. So now what they would be doing, the flow of the specimens would all come to their laboratory the same as it's doing now. They'll process all their own samples. The federal, they will bill out. The commercial, they will send off for confirmation, and that will be done at the hospital by hospital employees. So now the hospital will be able to bill for it. The hospital will then pay the laboratory a COG because the first laboratory ran the specimen. So they're getting that money pretty frequently. They invoice them every other week, and you're getting reimbursed for all these samples that were accessioned at the hospital. So for toxicology, it's $150, and for any blood or DNA, it's $350. So your lab is getting that up front. And then the lab is getting on the business associate agreement. They get also a back-end fee that comes upon adjudication. Again, it gets paid biweekly. So this isn't one of these things where you're 4 months out before you realize that you're getting screwed. This is only 6 weeks out to start seeing the first signs of any of the payoff adjudicated claims. And so for like a toxicology sample, because I know toxicology is probably the biggest need we have out there right now. For toxicology, the average reimbursements they're just through the roof, Viv. Better than 90% on toxicology and better than 80% on blood and DNA. So on those toxicology samples, the Blue Cross Blue Shield nationwide is a little over $1,500 average, which is phenomenal. And with the other carriers, it's as high as $2,500. But even figuring it on the low side, off a $1,500 reimbursement, the laboratory would end up with about $150. Well, they'll get exactly $150 COG, plus they'll end up with about another $370 in the back end, for a total of $520 on that sample. And obviously, that number goes up the higher the reimbursement. So it's just phenomenal money, and there's very little risk. And the reason that laboratories are flocking to this, because we've had conference calls all week with laboratories. Every one of them has been interested in this. This is the easiest thing we've ever sold to labs because they have a need for it. And in fact, I'm getting texts and calls already this morning from the ones that have already committed to me yesterday asking, when can I start? Where's my contract? They're that eager to get going on this. But so a couple more things to highlight for you, Viv. A couple of the big selling points on this. These are large, publicly traded companies that own the hospitals, and the advantage to that is that they have to adhere to SEC guidelines. If they don't pay their bills, they face fines. They face crackdowns from UCC for violating UCC. So it's imperative upon them that they pay their bills. And this is not a new program. This has been up and going for years. This is a steady program. They do not work with individual physicians. So this is not something that every rep group is out there peddling and people are moving their specimens in and out of. This, I don't want to say it's an exclusive deal, but it really kind of is an exclusive deal. And what else can I tell you about it, Viv?
I guess one of the things that I know is that the labs are getting paid up front for their cost of goods, so they're not actually going to be out of pocket for using any of their own supplies while they're waiting for the remainder of the money to come through. So that's got to be a huge benefit. So, well, what about the reps? I mean, the reps are all going to want to know what their piece of the pie is going to be, because if they're going to be out there selling this solution, it sounds great for the labs, but what's in it for the reps?
Truckloads of cash. This is and I know we're recording 2 podcasts today, and didn't mute my phone, as you can tell. You can hear all the texts and calls coming through here. We have 2 podcasts we're recording today that are both really, really high ticket commissionable programs, and nothing beats this. This is a feast or famine. It's an all or nothing program. I'm not going to lie to you, because if this isn't something where you're just getting individual doctors and you're picking up 40 samples here and 100 samples there. If you get a laboratory on board, you're rich. If you don't, you're broke. But to give you an idea, to put numbers to it, so obviously the laboratories has to make the lion's share of this. So the deals are cut kind of thin. But even with that, there is still room in there for the sales rep to be making some tremendous revenue. I'll give you one example. So only because it's fresh in my head because this person is texting me as we are talking. So, so one of our reps who's in Washington State has a very nice laboratory that we've already had conference calls with. We're at the point of contracting. So, and in fact, I have the contract sitting in my inbox. I'm just reviewing it here today. But assuming we get this signed contract, they can start onboarding samples pretty much right away. So we're only about 6 weeks out then from seeing the first trickle of some pay. Now for that sales rep, we're looking at on the conservatively, I'm giving you the most conservative numbers and the lowest estimates for reimbursements. Sales rep should still be making $25 to $30 a cup on the toxicology. And on the blood and DNA, the pharmacogenetic testing is really picking up, and you should be looking at probably in the neighborhood of triple to quadruple that number, maybe $75 to $100. I would say is realistic on that, and somewhere in between on blood, probably closer to maybe $60-$80. But so for this sales rep who brought in this laboratory. And this is not our biggest one, by the way. We have other ones that are on board that are even bigger than this. But this one does about 7,000 specimens a month. Now, they said they do around, just to take that apart, they have about 2,000 commercial toxicology that they're going to be moving over. They do DNA and blood also. But let's just put that to the side and just focus on one thing. If we just get her toxicology, which she's already committed to, that's 2,000 specimens per month for the sales rep. Conservatively, let's just figure the most conservative numbers. It'd be $25 to the sales rep. That's $50,000 a month to the sales rep.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it's such big money. It's it just make your eyes bug out of your head. And every other ancillary, if you get one of these in and you get it to work, every other ancillary program you have is going to seem like chump change. So, sorry.
Given the level of enthusiasm that you've had so far in the conversations that you've had this week, really it's just getting in front of the right decision maker to start talking about this solution, and I think that it'll gain traction fairly quickly, but it's just going to be a case of who's there first presenting
I
the
haven't
solution.
I haven't heard no yet. I've had some where we're looking at it, we're talking to our lawyers, and then it's either been an overwhelming yes or a hesitant yes, but we gotta do due diligence. Those are the two answers that we've gotten. We haven't gotten any of those. And everybody says the same thing. They're very hesitant to stick their toe in the HOPD waters. But, with this group, there's a level of transparency that you can't get with any of the, the Missions, the Suns, the Trinitas, the Imperiums, the Sutters, everybody else who's out there doing this. There's an extra layer of transparency, and that is number one. They have a portal that shows them up to the minute adjudication. So, and they're paid every other week for stuff that adjudicates by the end of the previous week. So they're not waiting a long time to get payment. And one of the things that makes people hesitant to do this is with some of these other groups is that they lose control of their samples. They essentially are turned into marketing agents. They have to sign their doctors up with another entity, go to a different place to get the results. But that's not the case here. They still have full control over their specimens. They get to run it. Doctor still gets the same level of service that they're used to. It's just now the patient bill is going to come from the hospital and is going to be in network. And this is just scratching them right where they itch.
It's a good expression. I always love the analogies that you come out with. I never know what you're going to have next. Well, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, we'll have more about this. We're up against it here, Viv, but we'll have more information about this. If you guys have any laboratories that you could bring to us that are looking to get in network, we're really looking for 5,000 plus specimens. If they're not 5,000 specimens, which we have at a couple like this where they've already told us we're running 3,000 specimens, but if we can get this, we can double our business inside 6 months because we have a bunch of groups on the sidelines just waiting for us to get in network. If that's the case, let me know. We can work it on a case-by-case basis, and sometimes we can get those through as well. So please just reach out to us if you have any laboratories.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Viv.